Hello, I am Luis Rodriguez, an Associate Professor of Finance at ITESO, the Jesuit University of Guadalajara, Mexico. And in this opportunity, we will talk about the relationship between sustainability and finance, exploring four theories and approaches that directly connect them. The four paths we will explore are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and Targets, the triple bottom line theory, the stakeholder wealth maximization theory, and the risk minimization approach. Let's talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 13 goals and 17 targets in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that make a direct reference to our work in finance. With that, the United Nations provide us with a rough guide on how to contribute to the sustainability of the planet as financiers. You may think that there is no relationship between finance and issues like poverty, economic and gender inequality, or peace and justice. But let's see some examples of goals and their targets. Goal number 1, no poverty. By 2030, ensure that all men and women, in particular the poor and the vulnerable, have equal rights to economic resources as well as access to financial services, including microfinance. Goal 3, good health and well-being. Achieve universal health coverage, including financial risk protection, access to quality and affordable essential medicines and vaccines for all. Goal 5, gender equality. Undertake reforms to give women equal rights to economic resources, as well as access to financial services. Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Encourage the formalization and growth of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises throughout the access to financial services. Strengthen the capacity of domestic financial institutions to encourage and expand access to banking, insurance, and financial services for all. Goal 10. Reduce inequalities. Improve the regulation and monitoring of global financial markets and institutions and strengthen the implementation of such regulations. Goal 16. Peace, justice, and strong institutions. By 2030, significantly reduce illicit financial and arms flows, strengthen the recovery and return of stolen assets, and combat all forms of organized crime. This is only a small sample of these relationships. You can find the complete list in the supporting material to this video. Now, let's move on to the second theory connecting sustainability and finance, the stakeholder wealth maximization theory. This theory emerges as opposite to the shareholders' wealth maximization paradigm that has dominated the Western business world since the Industrial Revolution. This paradigm posits the idea that the main objective of any company is to maximize the wealth of the shareholders or owners. Different from that, the stakeholders' wealth maximization theory is based on the concept that a company is a part of a social environment, so it should care not only for its shareholders, it also should care for other stakeholders, such as employees, the government, the customers, the supply chain, its community, and the general public. This also implies a change in the main goal of a company. Under this theory, the main objective is the company's survival in the long term. Let's move to the third theory we are exploring today, the triple bottom line theory. This theory was developed by John Elkington, and it is a sustainability framework to measure a company's social, environmental, and economic impact. This theory also calls to cancel the idea of profits or the bottom line being the only way to measure the success of a company, with the addition of the company's contributions to society and the environment into the mix, effectively adding two more bottom lines for corporations in reporting. These new categories often are referred to as the 3 Ps, that is, people, planet, and prosperity. People refers to clients, workers, supply chain, community, and in general, all the stakeholders of the company. Planet is related to the environmental impact of the company. Prosperity refers to the economic added value of the company to society, not just the financial aspect. In the intersection of the three is where the concept of sustainability lives. These two theories, stakeholders' wealth maximization and triple bottom line, and its practice within the business community, are a match with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and they are a way to build connections with the financial profession. The most obvious one is into the accounting practices that help to measure the triple bottom line and the company's sustainability impact. But not to fall short, there is also the strategic thinking in looking for new innovative ways to streamline our practice, helping the business to be more sustainable, along with the targets associated with the SDGs. Now, let's go for the fourth and last approach, connecting sustainability and finance. That is the risk minimization approach. There is an accepted principle in finance that relates the level of risk of a particular venture to the cost of capital associated with it. That is, the less risky an enterprise is, the lower would be the cost of financing it. In a corollary to this principle, we can add that the sustainable enterprises are by definition a less risky alternatives to a non-sustainable one. Why? Because the sustainability path would have less environmental, social, and labor-related risk than the non-sustainability alternative. So, sustainable companies would have access to lower financing costs, which means that they would be more profitable for stockholders, but also they will generate more value for stakeholders as it is sustainable in their approach. For this to happen, financial markets participants should recognize this, and there is evidence that this is already happening. For instance, the Dow Jones Sustainability US Composite Index, an equity index based on environmental, social, and governance criteria, showed a better performance than the Dow Jones Composite Average over the last 3 years. This behavior has been observed in several equity indexes, and it might be generalized in other financial markets in the following years. Let me finish with a word of caution. There are two issues that you should be careful about in your quest for sustainable business. The first one is to avoid transforming your work on sustainability or the work of your company into mere record keeping. Go strategic on sustainability, disrupt, innovate. In the words of John Elkington, referring to his creation, the triple bottom line theory, initiating the quote, "It was never supposed to be just an accounting system. It was originally intended as a genetic code, a triple helix of change for tomorrow's capitalism, with a focus on breakthrough change, disruption, asymmetric growth, and the scaling of next-generation market solutions, closing the quote. And the second is to avoid the greenwashing. As sustainability becomes a societal requirement for companies, some of them may wish to appear as changing paradigm, making cosmetic changes, just to give the impression to the customers, regulators, and network of a real commitment to sustainability. This deviation from ethical behavior should be avoided by us professionals committed to the sustainability of the planet.